Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. And today from Hasbro, we are featuring the Dungeons and Dragons Hank action figure. Alright, so this, I believe, is celebrating 40 years of Dungeons and Dragons. If you grew up during the early to mid 80s, you might remember the beloved Saturday morning cartoon, Dungeons and Dragons. For me, it was one of my favorite cartoons growing up as a kid. I want to say, I think it might have been on, for me anyways, I think it was on CBS. I can't remember exactly, but it was a cartoon I loved. If you're unfamiliar with the story, a handful of kids, they're at an amusement park, they go on this crazy ride, and the next thing you know, they're like whisked away to like the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and they have to find their way home. Spoiler alert, the cartoon never was finished, so you're kind of left wondering what happened to them. But I think, like some years ago, there was a crazy, I think like a German automobile commercial, and they kind of recreated it in live action form, and they kind of, they kind of resolved the story. So if you're interested, look that up. But today we're going to look at the Hank action figure. This was kind of a surprise to me when I first found out about it. Like, I know that Hasbro, they have the Dungeons and Dragons property and whatnot, but I think I never really thought they'd ever make figures for this, which is crazy. I think way back in the day in the 80s, they might have made small miniatures for the game, but I think those are like made of lead, so they're probably poisonous. But it's cool that we're getting 6-inch scale action figures. As you can see, the package design is kind of weird. It's almost like a standard card back, but instead of having a plastic bubble, they kind of have this little smaller cardboard enclosure where the figures, where the figures to be found. It's kind of cool. You kind of have animated inspired artwork. You have an image of the actual figure, kind of like an image of the cartoon. On the back, we have a nice photo of Hank. He comes with 3 accessories. He comes with an 8-sided die. He comes with his bow, and then he comes with his bow uncharged. Other figures in the wave include Bobby with a 12-sided die, and he comes with a little unicorn. He comes with Uni, the unicorn, and there's also Diana, who comes with a 20-sided die. All right, so let's get this thing open. Right, so I don't want to obliterate this package, so I think I open it up from the bottom. The box design is kind of cool because if you look in the corner, it's kind of folded in, kind of resembles, like maybe like a 8-sided die or a 6-sided die. So at the time, I think this is the only figure I'm kind of interested in this line. I didn't want to like commit to the entire wave. I just wanted to check one of these figures out first to see what the quality is like. Even though I'm very fond of this show, I don't think I need like all the merchandise that's revolved around it. Right, so much like other Hasbro products nowadays, we get the paper tissue baggie for the weapons. We have the 8-sided die. If you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, it requires multiple dice, each one for a different action. This is the 8-sided die, and there's like some weird like plastic filament still attached to the bow, which is kind of weird and gross. Alright, so we have the bow as it is standard, and then we have it when it's in use. It's kind of like charged up. Looks kind of neat. And this is what we're here for, the actual Hank action figure. All right, so my first impression when I took this figure out, immediately when I handled it, I kind of felt like, wow, this thing feels, not that it's heavy, but it has some weight to it. not that it's heavier than like a Marvel Legends, but it feels surprisingly kind of dense. Really well done from the looks of it. And let me grab another figure real quick. All right, so here's a Marvel Legends Vulcan from the recent X-Men wave. I kind of wanted to take this out just to do a, kind of a comparison, like how this, holds up next to like a Marvel Legends. Hank stands in at about 6.25. Keep in mind that he's supposed to be, he's kind of a teenager, so I don't think he's gonna be as tall as like an adult Marvel Legends figure. But there's the size comparison next to Vulcan. Vulcan's kind of like your average comic book Marvel Legends sized figure. So this will give you an idea of the size. In terms of the sculpting, let's examine that closely. Nicely sculpted. It really embodies that animated look of the cartoon model. You can definitely see it in the face, especially with the way the eyes are done. The sculpting is, it's not super hard. It's kind of soft, especially around the hair. The colors, they're well done. Nice contrast between the different shades of green. You can see some silver or gray on these kind of like rivets. A little messy though. There's like a paint splotch right there. Yeah, really well done. There is some disconnect though with the colors on the kneecaps. It doesn't match the pant leg. Same with the sleeves a little. It almost looks like the lower forearm might be a different shade than the upper arm. But I think you need like crazy eyes to notice that. I think from a distance you're not really gonna notice that, or depending also on your lighting conditions. In terms of Hank's articulation, his head rotates. Does he look down? Oh wow, his neck actually goes down. So that's kind of nice. Is he articulated at the neck or head? I can't tell. I can't tell. Alright, so his arms are articulated. As you can see, he kind of has like this poncho kind of deal overlapping his upper torso, but there's a slit on the sides, so that allows his arms to go outward like that. So it's nice that they thought of that. His arms rotate up also, but when they do, they kind of drag this upward. And what's underneath? Alright, so this is what it looks like underneath. Does this come off? It feels like it's glued on. It's glued on the back, I think, because it doesn't want to raise on the back. But on the front, full on lifts up. As you notice, there is no cut in the chest, so he doesn't have an ab crunch. He just has a waist swivel. And it gives you a fair amount of motion, and the range is alright. There is no bicep cut. There is an elbow bend, elbow swivel, and an articulated wrist, but it looks like the wrists rotate. I don't think they roll. This guy is not very photogenic. My camera doesn't want to focus on him for whatever reason. Underneath, legs kick up. Pinless, double pinned knees, which is nice. And articulated ankles. And there is a boot cut also, so it does swivel. So I think it's a decent figure. It's not like the most amazing thing in the world unless you grew up on this cartoon. If you grew up on the cartoon and you've been waiting your entire life, for these action figures, I think it's well worth the wait. And it's cool. I dig it a lot. It's kind of crazy that they're celebrating 40 years of Dungeons and Dragons. I think there's the live action movie that's due to come out this year, and they actually have, I believe, figures for it. Let me grab one. So be on the lookout for this. I'll review this in the near future. This is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is Holga, and I think this is from the live action film. I don't know too much about the live action film. I just saw that one trailer, so we'll check this out in a future video. Let's see how his accessories hold. So I think I'm doing this right. This is one of those deals where it's kind of like, you know, I'm not sure if you can get them in a decent, like, archer pose. Just because the articulation and elbow it's only single jointed, it's not double jointed. And I think that would have improved articulation, definitely, for, like, trying to get them in an archer pose. You know, it's not like trying to pose Hawkeye with Marvel Legends. This guy's a little bit more limited. But it's all right. It's not the greatest. If anything, I think these just make much better display pieces than figures you'd want to play with. But it's very cool nonetheless. All right, so how do I rate this guy on a scale of 1 to 10? I think my first thought was an 8. Being a fan of the cartoon as a kid, it's cool that I'm finally getting a figure of him. But it just feels really late. You know, it's like, where was this guy, like, you know... God, how many years has it been? 40 years ago. So, yeah, it's decent. You know, I think it's a solid 8. All right, so let's wrap this one up. So once again, my name is... Oh, I'm like choking here. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.